All right, so today is part number 3 and the final part of our introduction to physics. And another reminder, look at the website. Use this. Have this page printed out and ready, read it, understand it, ask questions, because after today, if you don't understand this stuff, it's going to do nothing but hold you back. So you need to ask questions. So, this page should look familiar. This is from the first lecture. And just to recap, it's all about prefixes. So a prefix is placed before a unit to indicate magnitude. So if we have meters, do we have a lot of meters or a few meters? If we have a lot, it could be a kilometer or a megameter or a gigameter. If we have few, it could be a centimeter or a millimeter. And you had a little bit of practice converting between these numbers using prefixes. So the example we did in the first lecture was how many centimeters are in 2.5 meters. So we had 2.5 meters, and we want to know how many centimeters what that is. And we used a conversion factor, knowing that there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. And we figured out that there are 250 centimeters in 2.5 meters. All right, so as long as it has the same base unit, in this case meter, it should be pretty easy to convert between prefixes. But what if the unit itself is different? So what if we're not converting between meters and another kind of meters? What if we're converting between meters and miles, for example? We can still use conversion factors. So, these conversion factors, and when I say conversion factor, I mean this multiplier of one thing over another. So you're canceling the units of the thing on the bottom, and you're gaining the units of the thing on the top. And this ratio is equal to 1. In a conversion factor, we put one thing over another only if they are exactly the same measurement. So in this case, 100 centimeters is exactly the same measurement as 1 meter. It's just a different way of writing it. So if we were to divide these two things, it turns out it's just multiplying by 1. And if you remember in algebra, you can multiply by 1 all you want, to your heart's content. And that's why we use conversion factors. So conversion factors allow us to do a quick multiplication to switch between units. So for example, let's convert 60 miles per hour to the units of meters per second. So, always start with what you're given. 60 miles per hour. Written out, it's 60 miles per 1 hour. And we want to change this into what? Meters per second, or little m over little s. Remember, miles and hours are not SI units. Meters and seconds are. So what we need to do is we need to cancel the units over here and get the right units over here. So we need to multiply by conversion factors. And the very first thing we can get rid of is miles. We want to go from miles to meters. But we don't know how many meters are in 1 mile. However, we do know that there are 1.6 kilometers in 1 mile. So what we do is we put 1 mile on the bottom, because that's the unit we want to cancel, and we put 1.6 kilometers on the top. So miles cancel. We're left with kilometers. But kilometers is not the unit we want. Meters is. So we need one more conversion to get to meters. In this case, kilometers is going to go on the bottom because that's what we want to cancel. And meters is going to go on the top because that's what we want. And what's the conversion here? What does kilo mean? Kilo means 1,000. It literally means 1,000 meters for 1 kilometer. So now kilometers cancels, and we're left with meters. Yes, good. We want the unit of meters. But we still have the unit of hours on the bottom for time. We don't want that, we want seconds. So we need to convert from hours to seconds. Well, where is hours going to go? The unit here. It's going to go on top. Because it's on the bottom in the beginning, we need it on the top over here so that it'll cancel. And how many seconds are in an hour? Well, that's pretty easy to figure out. There are 60 minutes in an hour and 60 seconds in a minute. So it's 60 times 60, which is 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. You will come to just know this off the top of your head. So now, our units of hours cancel, and we are left with meters here and seconds here. And just to check, meters per second, that's what we want. So now, we plug this into our calculator. Remember, anywhere there is a number 1, you can ignore it, because multiplying by 1 or dividing by 1 will just give you the same answer. So when you put this into your calculator, it should look like 60 times 1.6 times 1,000 times, or divided by 3,600. And it turns out 60 miles per hour is equal to 26.6667 meters per second. But wait, do we have the right number of significant figures here? No, we don't. In the beginning, we are given 60 miles per hour. How many significant figures does this have? Let's go ahead and assume it has 2 significant figures, 6, 0. So how many significant figures should we have here? We should have 2. So 26.6667 should be rounded to 27. And make sure you circle or box in your answer so it's easy to see. And that's how you use conversion factors. Some of your conversions are going to be between prefixes, like this one was. And some of them are just going to be ratios between things, like kilometers and miles or hours and seconds. So let's get a little more practice. The first one is convert 1 year to seconds. To phrase it another way, how many seconds are in a year? Well, start with what we're given. 1 year. And we want to know how many seconds is this going to be? Well, you got to break it down. So we can't go just from years to seconds because we don't know that. So we have to take baby steps. So one step down from year that we do know, or most people should know off the top of their head, hopefully, is the number of days in a year. So there are 365, or if you're counting leap years, 365.25 days in 1 year. And we put days on top because we want year to cancel. It's on top here, on bottom here, and it cancels. Next step is going from days to hours. We know that, right? There are 24 hours in 1 day. So now, days cancel and we're left with hours. Is that the unit we want? Nope. Got to go one more step. We got to try and get to seconds. And remember from the last slide, there are 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. So now hours cancel, we're left with seconds, and that's what we want, so that's good. So when we plug this into the calculator, remember you can ignore all the ones, so it's 365 times 24 times 3,600. And it turns out there are 315,36,000 seconds. And is this the right number of significant figures? No, not really. We are given the unit of 1 year. So we can go ahead and say that's 1 significant figure. We should probably round to 2 significant figures. So if we round to 2 significant figures, that is going to be 32 0.0000000. That's still a really obnoxious number to write. We have the right number of significant figures, but it's a pain to write out. So we can go one step further and put this into scientific notation. A little practice here. So our decimal point is back here. We need to move it to the left. We move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 places. So this is 3.2 times 10 to the 7 because we moved it over 7 places. Seconds. See how we did. Yeah, not bad. All right, so let's try another one. This is really similar to the one we did on the previous page. Convert 65 miles per hour to meters per second. So again, start with what you're given, 65 miles per hour. And we want to figure out how many meters per second this is. So first conversion, we can try and get from miles to meters. And remember, we have to take a middle step to get there. We know the conversion between miles and kilometers. Does anyone remember what it is? It is 1.6 kilometers for every 1 mile. So miles cancels, we have kilometers. And there's one more step to get from kilometers to meters. In 1 kilometer, there are how many meters? 1,000. Kilo means 1,000. So now kilometers cancels and we're left with meters. So this is the correct unit on top. But we still have hours on the bottom. So we need to get rid of hours and get to seconds. Remember, because hours is on the bottom to begin with, in our conversion factor it has to be on the top in order for it to cancel. So we have 1 hour, and we want to get seconds, so there are 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. So now hours cancel, and we plug it into our calculator. 65 times 1.6 times 1,000 divided by 3,600. And the answer is 28.8888. Continued. Is this the correct number of significant figures? No! We are given 65 to begin with, which has 2 significant figures. So we need to round our answer to the nearest 2 significant figures. So your answer should be 29 meters per second. All right. So that's conversion factors. You should have used these a lot in chemistry, but I know they can be tough. So if you get confused, ask questions. You'll have plenty of practice for your homework here. You have 4 conversion factors to do. Make sure you write out the entire problem. I want to see every conversion factor you use, circle your answer, correct number of significant figures, and use scientific notation if necessary. So number 1, how many millimeters are in 25 centimeters? 2, how many grams are in 145 kilograms? 3, how many seconds are in 1 day? And 4, how many minutes does it take for the moon to go around the Earth? This one might take a little bit of thinking, but I know you can do it. So work on this, work on your problem set, come see me if you need extra help, and you have just finished the introduction to physics, so now we can move on to some real content.